We're reading Sri Guru and His Grace, and Srila Srinamash was giving a very long and well-developed answer to a couple of different questions. One was, why was there a gap in the Sampradaya between Baladev Vidibhushan and Jagannath Das Babaji? We don't see many names mentioned there. And Srila Sridhar said, well, they're not really so much all-stars. We don't include every name in the Sampradaya, but they're there. And then he dilated a bit on Baladev Vidibhushan because you might say that nominally he's more part of the Madhva Sampradaya. But Srila Sridhar pointed out that Baladev Vidibhushan made a very important contribution to our Sampradaya because, after all, he wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita and the Vedanta from a Vaishnava point of view. And oftentimes, a Sampradaya is not really taken so seriously, or a religious school, a parampara. It's not necessarily taken so seriously in India if there is not a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So we include him in part because of his contribution in that sense. And also, I saw recently a comment by Goswami Maharaj. He said, look, it's important to Bhagavad Gita is beautiful, but we understand Bhagavad Gita from the point of view of the Srimad Bhagavatam. You have to read Bhagavad Gita with the Bhagavatam in mind. You have to have a Bhagavat reading of the Gita. His point was there's so many different readings of the Gita. And for example, Oppenheimer read Time I Am, Kalos Me, Bharatarshava, Destroyer of the Worlds, when he inaugurated the atomic age with the bomb at Alamogordo, New Mexico. But Oppenheimer's reading of the Gita is not a Vaishnava reading. So the Bhagavat reading of the Gita is given very powerfully by Baladev Vidibhushan, and that's why we accept him in our Sampradaya. Baladev Vidibhushan was very akin to the Madhva Sampradaya, but when it came in connection with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he showed great interest in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He's also commented on the Srimad Bhagavatam and Jiva Goswami's Shat Sandarbha. And that enlightened thought is a valuable contribution to our Sampradaya. We cannot dismiss him. He is our guru. So here Srila Sridhar Maharaj is defending Baladev Vidibhushan and pointing out, well, he's a very important superstar in our Sampradaya. At the same time, he says, if my own relatives do not give recognition to my guru or to the service of Mahaprabhu, I must eliminate them. And this is very pregnant with meaning, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj, when he's discussing relatives here, he's including god brothers, god uncles, god children. In other words, the disciples of our guru's guru, the disciples of our guru, our own god brothers, the disciples of our god brothers. He's including them in his sense of relatives. He says, even if our own relatives do not give recognition to my guru or to the service of Mahaprabhu, I must eliminate them. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada has explained the Shiksha Guru Parampara in this way. So again, and I've said this before, but it can't be emphasized enough. Um, this concept of the Shiksha Guru Parampara is really adumbrated by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. This is not something that Srila Sri Maharaj has invented, but this was expounded on by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And you may take it that Srila Sri Maharaj is, in terms of being able to express the philosophy or theology of Krishna consciousness and the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, he has no parallel. Even Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is much revered by so many, was seen to accept instruction from Srila Sri Maharaj. After all, he did not spend years in an ashram. Srila Prabhupada, he moved independently. And so how did he, we may say he was a natural Vaishnava or he was from Krishna Loka, but how did he develop his deep internal understanding of the Gaudiya Math and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Well, he used to hear Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam from Srila Sridhar Maharaj at his pharmacy on Sitakanta Banerjee Lane in Calcutta, where he maintained a pharmacy and a business downstairs and had invited Srila Sridhar Maharaj to maintain a little preaching center upstairs along with Govinda Maharaj. And so what Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying here in terms of the Shiksha Guru Parampara is definitive and really represents Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's point of view. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was par excellence the representative of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's philosophy. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was on his deathbed, preparing to leave this planet, he mentioned Srila Sridhar Maharaj and said, I'm satisfied that there's at least one person who can carry on my line, my philosophy. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj continues. He says, wherever we find the extraordinary line of the flow of love of God and support for the same, we must bow down. That line may appear in a zigzag way, but still, that is the line of my Guru Dev. In this way, it is accepted. We want the substance, not the form. And this is a very tough nut to crack, or it's a hard pill to swallow, if you like. Because whenever it comes time to try to continue the school, the master of the school will say, well, so-and-so, he will be the next master. But this is always recommendatory. It's a recommendation. If a great master is on the verge of passing away, and he says, well, if you love me, follow so-and-so, or everyone should try to cooperate with so-and-so. This is a recommendation. It's a strong recommendation coming from an established authority. But in the end, it's a recommendation because oftentimes we see that the successor or the recommended person who is to follow in the footsteps of the master goes astray. Just look at the royal succession of the crowned heads of Europe. or the royal throne of England. Uh, there's a history rife with stories of corruption and madness and all kinds of mayhem, uh, depending on how you read the history, of course. Uh, if you're a student in England, uh, your headmaster may give you a history book that explains that each and every person in the line of kings uh, was a great soul and participated in the divine right of kings that is established by God Himself, whatever their personal foibles may have been. Take Anne Boleyn, for example. In the time of Henry VIII, uh, who crowned himself the, the head of the Church of England, he created a new church and said, well, I'm the Pope of this church because the Pope won't give me a divorce, so therefore I don't need him. I am in charge of the church by divine right. I became king by divine right. And what I say is divine law. And so then Henry VIII beheaded Anne Boleyn, not personally, of course. He sent for a special executioner from France who used a Toledo sword, which was noted for its fine steel and sharpened edge, and sent also for a special stylist to cut Anne Boleyn's hair so that it would not impede the sword in its path. And so Anne Boleyn was executed as a witch. She was tried as a witch and as an adulterer and executed for treason. Uh, but then, of course, sometime later, without getting into all the details, her daughter somehow wound up becoming the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth. Uh, and so it doesn't really do to have the mother of the Queen executed as a treasonous witch. And Anne Boleyn's reputation, of course, was rehabilitated, depending on your point of view. So if you're a schoolboy in England, you will learn that absolutely everybody in the line of crowned heads of England uh, was a great souled king or queen. But using a little bit of Tatusta Vichar, you can see that, well, Richard III, the terrible hunchback who killed his nephews, or Anne Boleyn, the treasonous witch, or Henry VIII, the adulterous monster. Uh, all these do not necessarily, you know, respond to the idea of being uh, great-souled saints and heads of the church. Uh, so any sort of succession is recommendatory. And one may say, well, uh, this man, he seems qualified, so let's nominate him. But in the end, we want the substance, not the form. So suddenly you might find that the divine flow appears in a different place. So Srila Sri Ramar says, wherever we find the extraordinary line of the flow of love of God and support for the same, we must bow down. That line may appear in a zigzag way, but still, that is the line of my Gurudev. In this way, it is accepted. We want the substance, not the form. We have left all social concerns and so many other shackles. For what? For the absolute truth. And wherever I shall find that, I must bow down my head. And so we will see that in any organization, be it ISKCON, Gaudiya Math, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, or the Catholic Church for that matter, any institution uh, may begin to present ideas, doctrines, dogmas that are far removed from why we came. We've left all social concerns and so many other shackles. For what? Uh, when I was in Los Angeles after Srila Prabhupada passed away, some of the devotees were having doubts. And then some of the leaders began to circulate the idea that, well, World War III is imminent. Prabhupada said that there will be a third world war that will initiate between India and Pakistan, and the United States will back Pakistan, and Russia will back India, which is a pretty profound political analysis. It could still happen at any time, but our leaders told us, so you need to prepare for the Third World War and buy survival suits and dig underground uh, bomb shelters and buy survival packages of special vegetarian canned food. And they established a settlement in Badger, California by triangulation because Badger, California was as far away as you could get from any nuclear uh, power facility or military target, and on and on and on. But we did not sign up for any kind of conspiracy theory like this. We signed up for the absolute truth. And Srila Sri Ramar said, and wherever I shall find that, I must bow down my head. And if a great soul shows us, this is the path to where you will find your thirst quenched. The line is in this zigzag way. We must accept that for our own interest. We are worshipers not of form, but of substance. If the current of spiritual substance comes another way, but I think that I must try to go this way to reach my goal. It is only jealousy, blind tenacity to stick to the physical thing. So often we hear all this about, oh, showing chastity to the institution. But this is not what Srila Sri Ramaraj is trying to teach us here in Sri Guru and His Grace. He's asking us to try to develop some criterion so that we can discover the real substance of the teachings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he says, it is only jealousy, blind tenacity to stick to the physical thing. So you may see an institution going down, becoming corrupt, the leaders addicted to unhealthy, unworthy practices. Then you have to ask yourself, is this the physical thing? We must free ourselves from this material contamination and try to understand the value of spiritual truth. We should always be prepared for that. We must follow what is necessary for our own interest. I am not a servant of A, B, C, or D. I am a servant of Mahaprabhu. I may have to turn this way or that way, or whatever way will be favorable to reach my Lord. Wherever I feel the presence of my Lord in an intense form, I must be attracted to that side. We are out for that thing and not for any fashion or formality that will hamper our cause. So I've seen again many followers of Srila Prabhupada. Uh, they used to follow him around with a microphone and record absolutely everything he said. And in the morning, after getting up early, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, excuse me, and working on his translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, he liked to go on a walk. Uh, so he would often walk on the beach or in a little park in Santa Monica above Sunset Beach. And the devotees would follow him with tape recorders. And at that time, he was translating the fifth canto of the Bhagavatam, or it had just been printed. And so the devotees had many questions about cosmology and cosmogony and how the physical universe is described in the Bhagavatam. And they would initiate all these conversations with, yes, but the scientists say this, and the scientists say that. And Srila Prabhupada would often become impatient with all this talk about the scientists say this, and the scientists say that. After all, we're interested in faith. And so he would dismiss the scientists with a wave of his hand and say many of the things that they're saying, it's nonsense. It doesn't really make sense. Life comes from life, for example. Uh, and so the devotees began developing and encouraging a complete anti-science attitude to the point where now, a generation later, 60 years on, uh, people will insist that the moon is made of green cheese, that the earth is flat, that the sun goes around the earth, and that so many conspiracy theories, health uh, theories begin to supersede the teachings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I'm not here to vouch for the validity or non-validity of these different points of view. But Srila Sri Ramakrishna is saying, we're not out for some fashion, some fashionable conspiracy theory. We're not out for some formality uh, that will hamper our cause. Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Uh, there's a photo. Uh, I only have about two photos with me and Srila Sri Ramakrishna in the photo. And one of them, uh, Bhakti Sudhir Goswami is intently listening to Srila Sri Ramakrishna talking. And there's three or four other devotees in the shot. But because I'm in the corner, uh, I always get cropped out of that photo. So I sort of jokingly put up the other day, that's me in the corner. And there's a song like that. That's me in the corner, losing my religion. And I thought that's really very appropriate. Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Vricha. He says, lose your religion. Don't make politics your religion. Don't make religion your religion. Don't make ritual your religion. Give that up. Come to me. Mam Ekam Sharanam Vricha. We're not interested in religion. We're interested in surrender and sacrifice. We're interested in surrender to Krishna and, of course, to his representative, Gurudev. Wherever we shall find him, we must run in that direction. The direction may not always be straight. It may go in a zigzag way. But if Krishna comes from that side, I must run there. So perhaps in the beginning, uh, you're attracted to uh, Jesus Christ and his example and his sacrifice. Uh, but then you see, well, all these different so-called Christians have developed a sort of crystallized dogma that doesn't allow for any sort of deep mystic spiritual realization. And then you discover, oh, here's India, here's the Vedanta, here's yoga. Wait a minute, here's Krishna. You see, so it may go in a zigzag way. You may not come directly to Krishna consciousness, but as you approach Krishna, you'll find uh, the way. If Krishna comes from that side, I must run there. Again, if he appears on this side, I must run to this side. My interest is with him, not that we can challenge. Why did Krishna appear here? And why is he appearing there? That may be a doubtful thing, so I must stay on this side. So he's saying it's fine to join a church, it's fine to have a religion, but uh, the real deep realization of Krishna consciousness, it may come in an unexpected way, and we must be able to embrace that. No, if I have genuine appreciation for the real thing, the proper thing, I must go to that side, the side of Krishna. If I am blind, that is another case. Then I must have to suffer for my inability. But if anyone has the ability to understand things properly, he will run wherever he finds help. If a man in a boat is passing through the current and finds himself in danger, then from whatever side help may come, he must turn to that side. So there's this story about a man whose boat goes down and he starts to drown and he prays to God, help me, God. Uh, and a helicopter flies overhead and tries to send the ladder down. And the man says, no, I'm not interested in any material help. I want God's help. So the helicopter flies off and a boat passes ready to throw him a life preserver. And he says, no, no, I'm praying to God. God, please help me. And then God says, look, I sent you a helicopter and I sent you a boat. If a man in a boat is passing through the current and finds himself in danger, then from whatever side help may come, he must turn to that side. If we are worshippers of Shiva, when we understand the special superiority of Narayan, should we stick to Shiva? And if we are worshippers of Narayan and are shown the superiority of Krishna, should we stick to our Narayan worship? And then, should we not try to go from Krishna's Bhagavad Gita to Srimad Bhagavatam? One may think, I've read the Bhagavad Gita. I like the Krishna who is the speaker of the Gita. Then when the Srimad Bhagavatam is given to us, should we stick to that Gita Krishna? Or should we try to go to the Krishna given in Srimad Bhagavatam? If we have our interest in Krishna, we must run to his side, wherever he appears. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the story is told of how Gopakumar, by chanting his Gopal mantra, gradually leaves one stage and progresses to the next. There, the gradation of devotion is traced from the Karma Kanda Brahmin to a devotee king, then to Indra, then to Brahma, then to Shiva, from him to Prahlad, then to Hanuman, then the Pandavas, then the Yadavas, to Uddhava, and finally to the gopis. In this zigzag way he is passing. In the sincerity of his quest, his thirst is not being quenched. He's going from this side to that side and going up. So all of them have their Guru Parampara. There is Prahlad's Guru Parampara, Hanuman's Guru Parampara, the Pandavas' Guru Parampara, Makadev's Guru Parampara. They have their own Guru Parampara. Brahma and Makadev are gurus themselves. They're the creators of their own lines of Guru Parampara, but Gopakumar passes them also. Why? His thirst is not quenched until he goes to Vrindavan. So, the Brihad Bhagavatamrita has shown us the line of Guru Parampara, the real line of our quest, of our search. If we're sincerely searching after real truth, then wherever we may go may be a contribution to our experience for further preaching in the future. If we go somewhere hoping with all sincerity that our thirst may be quenched there, but find that it is not quenched and feel some uneasiness, then, by the grace of the Lord, a connection with higher truth will come. So this is like in the Bible where it says, seek and ye shall find, knock and the door shall be opened. It's our own sincere hankering for truth that will impel us higher, that will push us higher, to teach us to go deeper. But the difficult thing is to maintain our sincerity in our faith. And for this reason, we need the devotees and we need Gurudev. Gradually, we will again find dissatisfaction, the need for something higher. And again, we will progress further. In this way, we may cross many Guru Paramparas before ultimately attaining the Braja Leela of Krishna as given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here he's kind of answered this question about the Shiksha Guru Parampara and how it moves in a crooked way. It's not always readily understood, but it will be ferreted out through our own sincerity. And then, another thing that comes up again and again lately is, how disqualified the Western devotees are. And that's kind of a misnomer. There are no Western devotees and Eastern devotees. There are Vaishnavas. And to make some artificial distinction based on nationality or samskara or birth is not really accepted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here, Srila Sri Ramarshi says, we're not interested in fashion or form. If we want the real truth, then wherever it will be found, we must accept it. Mahaprabhu says, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kaninoi, Jai Krishna Tattva Veda, Se Guru Hoy. Anyone, regardless of caste or social position, may become guru if he knows the science of Krishna. So this is a very key verse from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that bears study. Kiba Vipra, a Vipra is a Brahmana. Kiba Nyasi, a Nyasi is a sannyasi. Shudra Kaninoi. It doesn't matter if someone is a Brahmin, a sannyasi, a Shudra. Ye Krishna Tattva Veda, Se Guru Hoy. If he understands Krishna Tattva, if he's invested in Krishna Tattva, he's fit to be a guru. Srila Sri Rama says, our uncle may be our guide. Sometimes the father may not be our guardian. Our uncle may be our guide and not the father. It is possible. So he's saying here, maybe the person who really guides you on the path is your god brother or your god uncle or someone unexpected. The line of interest is to be considered the most important. So our line is the Shiksha Guru Parampara. I am thankful to those who are helping my spiritual understanding, not only in a formal way, but in the real sense. Whoever is untying the knots of our entanglement in this material world, giving us light, quenching our thirst for inner understanding and satisfaction, is our guru. In this way, we live on the contribution of all these spiritual masters. So again, it's nice if you go to an ashram and you find that the president of the ashram is conducting his business, accepting donations, giving talks, constructing a bigger temple. But we owe our allegiance to whoever is untying the knots of our entanglement in this material world, whoever is giving us light and quenching our thirst for inner understanding and satisfaction. All these folks our shiksha gurus. So there may be many. All the Vaishnavas are more or less are instructing spiritual masters. Our spiritual life may live on their contribution, but we do not accept the imitationists. They are our enemies. Now people I've seen uh, devotees developing cute YouTube videos or Instagram reels based on uh, artificial intelligence. But this is imitation. Uh, if you tell artificial intelligence, create an image of a Hare Krishna devotee, uh, the program will create an image of someone with 3 lines of tilak as a good Shivite. um, so we don't accept imitationists. The idea of imitationism has to do with trying to create with your imagination uh, what you think Krishna and the gopis might be. But this is not appropriate. This can be achieved only through self-realization and surrender. We do not accept the imitationists. They are our enemies, a satsanga, bad association. They will take us away from the real path of understanding and progress. We must ask our sincere hearts, from whom do I really get the benefit of spiritual life? Our sincere consciousness will be the best judge, not form. If in an earthen pot there is Ganges water, and in a golden pot there is ordinary water, which should we select? In a case like that, Brahmanas, the intelligent class of men, take the holy Ganges water in the earthen pot. So the substance contained and not the container should be given the real importance. Well, that's a lot to digest. I hope I don't rant too much, uh, but I don't know. I feel free to rant here. We're all friends. And I may say things that seem correct to me in the moment. And, later, just like Srila Prabhupada, if he's walking down the beach and somebody says, hey, I read in the newspaper that India has nuclear tipped missiles in Pakistan too, maybe he said something like, hmm, sounds like war. And a week later, his political analysis might have changed, but that doesn't alter his uh, deep impressions of Krishna Loka. I don't know. In Spanish, the word loca means crazy. So if you're from Krishna Loka, you're Krishna crazy. I don't know. What's up, Pranashish? Enlighten me.
No, that was just a lot to take in.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. It took 2 years to produce that book.
Yeah, no, it's just like you're talking about a direct thread to pure knowledge. Like there's you put this book together, you're teaching us this book now. The thread is so direct and clear. It's like a spotlight. On a football stadium at night when you see the four big lights on and you drive past. So they have four big floodlights and that illuminates the whole field. It's like a lot of these points were not very clear to me always. Some become more brighter and more clear, but like you're really making everything so clear. It's exactly like sitting in a class. You don't understand what you're doing to us. Like we're back to being 12-year-olds sitting with our legs crossed going, oh my God, oh my God. So
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. I remember that when we published this book, my head was on fire for
right.
My head was on fire. I couldn't put it out, you know? And like I ate, slept, and, breathed uh, Tree grew in his grace for like 2 years, at least when we were publishing the book. But, now just like 40 years later, and it's still living and breathing, it kind of amazes me. Another thing that really amazes me about this book is it's much bigger than I thought because it can be used to justify a lot of very different points of view. And in that sense, I think Srila Sridhar, she's something like an oracle, because the ancient Greeks, they would go to the oracle at Delphi and they would say, okay, should we go to war now with the Trojans? And they would get a message from the oracle like, if it rains, it pours. And they would be like, I don't know, go back, do it again. And the oracle would come back with a leopard doesn't change its spots, and they would be kind of stuck with, "Well, what do we do in this situation? The I Ching is like that. I opened, I'm at the end of my school year. I have a lot of mixed emotions. I get depressed, angry, frustrated, happy, liberated. I opened the I Ching and the hexagram was harmony. Harmony is an interesting hexagram because it has three straight lines like that, and then it has above that three broken lines, you know. Uh, so like that's the earth, and above the earth is the heaven. And the funny thing was that was one of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's favorite words. He said, you know, religion means proper adjustment. We have to see things in harmony. And harmony is a very odd subject because you can have some really strange sounding uh, melodic things going on, and yet they resolve. So, harmony, I don't know. Srila Sridhar Maharaj's talks done, the idea of harmony is there's conflict and there's resolution. So his talks are always filled with uh, conflict and resolution, or in Hegelian terms, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. And it's not so easy to get at, well, what's the practical application here? Do I go to Australia or not? Govinda Maharaj told me, yeah, go to Australia. You can do it. Go there and preach. I thought, okay. And I figured out how to fly to Australia cargo, which is, I don't know if they do that anymore, but it used to be you'd go to a company and they give you a cargo manifest, and on your ticket is, 12 big giant boxes of something. You don't know what it is, you know, and they'll sell you a ticket for like $200. So for $200, I flew to Australia. When I got there, they're like, wait a minute, we want to see what's in these boxes. I don't know. Okay, you're good. And then I got to meet the Australians who told me, Maharaj, we don't need no sannyasis. Go away. Now, that was a direct order from Govinda Maharaj. So should I have been, you know, determined to stay there and preach, even though the Australians told me, we don't want you, go home? Or should I just take it? Well, okay, I have a return ticket in 2 weeks. Good luck, boys. You know, what would have happened had I stayed? I don't know, right? But sometimes you get an order and, you do your best to follow the order. But what's the real truth? I don't know. But anyways, I'm thinking about all these things. It's good that you forced me to give these talks because it somehow holds my spiritual life together. And then I think, oh God, you know, am I sincere? Do I have anything to say? Probably not. But that's a good thing, right? If I think like that, that's humility, I suppose. I don't know. I'm read I'm reading, a bit of Thomas Merton. Uh, he's interesting. He's a Catholic, but he translated some Chinese stuff, Chuangzi, and he also wrote about the ancient desert masters. And what they all have in common, even though the Chinese are often sort of voidists, but what they all have in common is the idea that ego should be reduced and humility should be increased. And there's all these little exercises they give you. So I'm trying to learn humility. So say something nasty about me behind my back. You're listening to Maha. You don't do that. Ew, no, not him. And then I'll feel better. I can approach real humility. By the way, I'm seriously trying to think about how to go back to Ireland and
Okay.
to pay a visit, only because after you're 60 years old, it's like the Richter scale. Every point on the Richter scale is 10 times heavier than the previous, right? A six on the earthquake level six on the Richter is 10 times more powerful than a five. Seven is 10 times. It's like every year after 60, you feel 10 times more run down, broken, you're destroyed, the wheels are falling off. So I'll be 72 on Wednesday. I don't know if I have any more adventures left in me, but I'd like to try to do Ireland again. I don't really know why. There's something there that draws me, the mysticism, those strange rock formations, Newgrange, you know, I don't know. And,
Okay, John,
and
as your will.
obviously Pranashish and, you know, Subhasini and Haripriya and you all, you know. I think America is dead spiritually. You know, somehow in the 60s, there was an outpouring, a renaissance, a vibration, but it's all sort of pooped out. I don't know. It's exhausted. But I think in Ireland, there's some undercurrent of mystic vibration there that's in the language and the people. And I don't know. I'd like to go back there sometime. Maybe we can work something out.
Yes, if that is your will, it will happen.
It, it will happen.
It will
All
happen.
right, boys and girls, Hare Krishna, and, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. It's good to see you all. And I'll try to do this again next week. All right, so be there or be square. Haribo. I'm signing off. Hare Krishna.
Vai, pelo que
All
já,
right.
já, já.